Hello, YouTube! Do you want to install a Home Assistant operating system directly onto an x86 PC or thin client? Have you tried to follow the directions on the Home Assistant website and still couldn't get it to work? Have you watched other videos and tried to follow along, but that didn't work either? Have you watched my previous video on how to do this and are still struggling? Have no fear. I finally found a foolproof way of doing this. Stay tuned for this week's 5-Minute Friday and I'll teach you all about it. Hey, I'm Jeff. Welcome to the channel. I've been a professional IT nerd now for much longer than I'd care to publicly admit, so let's just dispense with all that nonsense. I'm here to show you how to make the dumb stuff smart and the smart stuff easy. All right, no screwing around this week. I got some really special content for you, both in terms of RYE and tech. So let's get those 5 minutes on the clock. First up, my favorite part, the RYE. On deck this week is Colonel E.H. Taylor Bottled and Bond Straight RYE. As you can see, I haven't opened it yet. I just picked it up last week. Even though it's gonna chew up a few extra seconds, I've gotten some pretty positive feedback about this 5-Minute Fryyeday series, so I wanted to share this bottle with you guys. Now, since it's bottled and bond, the whiskey nerds among you will already know that means it's 100 proof. You may also recognize it, as it's pretty difficult to come by these days. I've actually never had it before. I paid MSRP, which is about 80 bucks, but I've seen it listed for as high as 350 online. Let's give it a try, shall we? That's worth it. So in my previous video, I went to all the trouble of showing you how to download Ubuntu, then download and install Balena Etcher onto your PC, then use Etcher to make a bootable USB stick with Ubuntu on it, then boot your NUC or whatever from that, and then install Balena Etcher again, then finally use that to install HAOS onto your target hardware. When I was making that, the justification I used in my own head was, well, I want to make this as simple as possible so that people who are afraid to open the case on their computer can follow along without needing a screwdriver. In hindsight, after much reflection, not to mention a lot of complaints, because the technical bits on that video became outdated faster than a Kardashian hairstyle, I finally came to the realization that no matter what I do, and no matter how much I try and break Home Assistant down for people, it's still an enthusiast level product. As enthusiasts, it occurred to me that it's extremely likely that you guys will have no problem removing or installing an SSD or an SD card. So here it is, the absolute easiest way to do this. First, you're gonna need to get yourself one of these. What's this? This is an M.2 SSD to USB enclosure. They're like 20 bucks. These little contraptions allow you to take an SSD out of one computer, slap it in this here thingy, and then plug it into a USB port on another computer and use it like a portable hard drive. Now I know, you're sitting there like, oh, how's that gonna help me get HAOS installed, Jeff? Let me show you. First, let's take the SSD out of this NUC 11 Enthusiast. Now, if you don't have one of these fancy little Allen wrenches, just use a regular one. This one's made by Rode. It came with one of the mics I use for making these videos, but any Allen wrench will work. Next, we need a Phillips screwdriver. Note that different hardware is going to require different tools. For example, the regular non-enthusiast model NUCs just need a Phillips screwdriver. There is no requirement for the Allen wrench. So use whatever tools are needed to get yours open. Once you got it open, unscrew the one tiny little screw that holds in the M.2 SSD drive, and then remove the SSD by tilting up the screw end and then pulling it out of the slot. Next, we'll install it into our enclosure. Now, if you've got something that uses an SD card or a micro SD card, removing the card should be much easier, and you can install onto the SD card using an SD card reader, such as this one. This one's made by ProGrade, and to be honest, it's kind of spendy. But at the time I bought these, I've got several of them, they were the fastest ones on the market. With the amount of data that I need to pull off of various SD cards from cameras and audio recorders and lav mics and everything else to make these videos, the time savings more than makes up for the additional cost for me. If you're only going to use it once in a while, it's probably not worth the 80 bucks for you to get this exact one. Now, note that you may still have to open the case to access the memory card, depending on what kind of hardware you have. In any event, now that we've got our media, either SSD or SD, installed into the enclosure and plugged into the computer, you need to download Balena Etcher for Windows. I'll leave a link to that in the description, but Googling for it might be a better option given what happened in the last video. Then download the Home Assistant image. They update it every time there's a new release, so I'll leave a link in the description to the Home Assistant documentation that contains that current link. Once that download is completed, make sure that your portable enclosure is connected to your computer and then launch Etcher. Select Flash from File, and then choose the Home Assistant image you just downloaded. On the next screen, click Select Target. Choose the correct drive from the list. As you can see in this screenshot, Etcher will flag the internal drives in your system so you don't accidentally overwrite one of them. I'm going to choose G, and then click Select 1. Click Flash, and then you'll be presented with a warning letting you know that this is a large drive and asking if you're certain you want to erase the contents. Click Yes, I'm sure, and Etcher will start doing its thing. First flashing,
one eternity later,
and then it'll validate the data. Once validation finishes, you're presented with the completed screen. Close Etcher and unplug the enclosure from your PC. Remove the drive, install it back into your NUC or laptop or whatever, put the cover back on if needed, and fire it up. Voila! Home Assistant. Alright, hopefully I made it under 5 minutes, but I bet it's going to be close. Check the description for links to the M.2 enclosure and the SD card reader if you need one of them, and there's also links there to M.2 drives and SD cards, as well as the NUC that I run my Home Assistant on in case you need one of those too. I really do love hearing from you guys, so drop me a note in the comments below and let me know what you thought about this video. If you liked it, please do me a favor and give that like button a slap so YouTube shows my pretty thumbnail to more people. That is a tremendous help. If you're interested in supporting the channel so that I can get more of these type of little gadgets to figure out new and exciting ways to make things easier for you guys, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com. There's all sorts of cool benefits available there, including access to code from all the videos, access to the FHT Discord server so I can help you in real time with problems, free t-shirts, early access to ad-free videos, and more. Benefits are available starting at just $3 US per month. I hope you guys found today's video informative and entertaining, and I hope that I was able to teach you something new. I hope that you liked today's t-shirt, sorry for the Rickroll, and I look forward to seeing all your smiling faces in the next video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, go automate something, will ya?